I grew up speaking primarily PA Dutch. In our languages that we had, we didn't actually have words for vagina. I didn't know that there were words for vagina.
Mm-hmm.
And when you start talking about how that affects you, there's a big discrepancy there, because we didn't even have words to discuss it. I didn't know what was happening to me. When I got my first period, I thought I was bleeding to death.
Mm.
I did not know what was happening to me. I had no idea that was going to happen.
Yeah.
And nobody told me that was going to happen. I didn't know. And then I was told by my mother that now I can become pregnant. And I should be very careful that I don't become pregnant, because you don't want to become pregnant.
Wow. Do you remember how old you were when that happened?
12.
Oh. So in your community, you understood what pregnant meant.
Well, I can have babies.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So were you aware at that point of how babies were made? Was that ever explained to you when you got your period?
No.
But she expected you to know not to get pregnant.
Because it's my job as an AFAB person to sit there and regulate how men and boys observe me and prevent them from sexually abusing me and raping me violently all the time.
Yeah.
It's not really so bad that he raped me. What's really so bad is that I won't shut up about it. That's what's bad.
In their eyes.
That was my mother's eyes. Not even in their eyes, in my mother's eyes.
Wow.
That's why her use of the sacred subjects shouldn't really surprise you. And it's not true that I was given those booklets at 11. It's true that I had access to those booklets.
Right. So, and this is a hard question, and feel free to skip it if it's too uncomfortable. At what point did you understand the abuse that had been happening to you was considered sex, and that's how babies were made?
When I was 14, I heard a story about another Amish girl who was also 14, whom I knew, and she was impregnated by her brother. That's when it really sank in. But you know, my mother had a solution. Let me teach you to make this tea that I went searching for as an adult, that I found out as an adult is an abortifacient.
Really?
But I should be grateful that I wasn't impregnated. I was told that.
Oh my gosh. So you were made to drink this tea because she knew that you were being assaulted.
Yes.
But she wasn't willing to stop the assault, which were her other children. She wasn't willing to reprimand them.
It was more than her other children. People know about the people that were arrested and prosecuted. What they don't know is that I have an Amish cousin who I was 6 years old, under 6 years old probably. He was over the age of 18 and he brutally raped me. I was a baby. And you know what happened? He's an Amish deacon today. He was never prosecuted.
Wow. I'm so sorry, Mary. I'm so sorry with everything that you've gone through. It's horrific, and it's not okay. It's not okay. And I know that you know that. I just have to say it.
I know that.
Yeah.
But it's not right, because I can't sit here and be silent about it when I know it's still happening today.
Yeah.
Just because I escaped and I reached safety doesn't mean that this isn't still happening today to children. Because how many perpetrators do we know of child sexual abuse who have literally sat there and left a string of victims throughout their entire lives? How likely is it that they have actually been rehabilitated? And how likely is it that a convicted registered sex offender who finds God is actually never going to reoffend?
Yeah. I also want people to understand that your story is not unique to these Amish communities as far as the the amount of abuse that goes on. It's not just like a fluke, is what I'm trying to say. It was very common in these communities. And one of those stories that I'm thinking of and what I'd like to bring up is how children, young girls, didn't even feel safe using the bathroom at school in the porta potties because that's where assault often happened. Would you mind speaking about that or how you felt about that?
Let me tell you what I saw in Amish schools. I wet myself in front of the entire school at the blackboard because I was so terrified of going to the bathroom because I heard girls screaming in them. So, is it unique to Amish communities? No. Why do I talk about it as like being inside of Amish communities? Because I know that experience. I don't know what it's like for other children.
Yeah. So, because the Amish so heavily focus on forgiveness, can you walk us through what it's like when somebody actually admits to these crimes and how the community handles it?
Typically, what I've seen, and I've seen a few different responses, but typically what I've seen is that there can be a variety of responses. In my specific case, he was sorry, and I'm supposed to forgive him. And if I don't forgive him, my sin can be just as great, if not greater than, his sin of raping me. Because let's threaten a child that was just raped, over and over and over with, like, going to hell if you don't forgive him. And I do mean the burning, everlasting, eternal fire and brimstone hell. Because that's not adding a layer of trauma, is it?
Wow.
So what would happen is, for me, I was told to forgive them. And that means I have to be silent about it. And I don't ever tell anybody about it because forgiveness equates silence far too often. And then when the ministry got my letter that I wrote them in 2004, they didn't do anything. And when I reported it, because one of my, the worst one, who was arrested, called the place that I was living at, I literally hung up with him and called and reported it. Because the thing is that even though I had escaped and I thought I had reached safety, I wasn't safe. I wasn't safe, physically safe, until I left the entire state of Wisconsin. And the church was a large part of that. Because the church responded by talking about, oh, she had flower seeds that she dried in her closet. We think she's on drugs.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, well, seers are so naffy, which basically means that you're just nervous, like you have nerve problems. They put them in the bond for 6 weeks, which ironically, our deacon's son drank until he passed out at the singing one Sunday, and he had the same disciplinary action 6 weeks in the bond.